Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, then welcome. My name is Kristina, and on my channel we talk all things beauty from my own experiences. So if you guys are looking for the best and most honest how-tos and reviews from a consumer's perspective, make sure you subscribe to my channel, like this video, and leave any comments that you have for me down below. In this video, we are going to be doing a little bit of a first impression / demo of the new R.E.M Beauty concealer, as well as the new sponge that came out with it. I have the shade medium 4N, so we are going to go over all the specs of this. We're going to do application. So this is the new R.E.M Beauty Sweetener concealer, and these came out very recently. These retail for $24. I purchased mine at Ulta, and then when you purchase it at Ulta, I believe that you're also getting the new dreamcloud blender. At least I did when I purchased it. There is a ton of information on the R.E.M Beauty website on this concealer. They give you a bunch of basic how-tos, how to use the concealer, ways that they suggest you use it, like a contour, a highlight, a corrector. So I'm gonna kind of just summarize what I can from this description for you. It says it's a smooth, lightweight veil, and it can be medium to full coverage. You can either use it as a concealer, or you can use it as a corrector or contour or highlight as well. It has hyaluronic acid, which will help with hydration, ashwagandha, known to help protect the skin from environmental stressors, and vitamin E for antioxidant protection. They suggest using it with your fingers, a brush, or the new sponge. They kind of break down how to use it based on what you want it to do. So for instance, if you're spot concealing, they recommend letting it sit on the skin for 1 to 2 minutes before blending out. If you're doing overall concealing, it says to choose a shade closest to your skin tone. If you want to brighten, do 1 to 2 shades lighter. But my plan today is we're going to do a little bit of spot concealing without any foundation. We'll do a little concealing with the foundation on, and then I just want to show you guys how it's wearing on the skin. 60? Are there 60 shades in this line? Okay, it does come in 60 shades. That's pretty insane. And from looking at it, it looks like they have a fairly good shade range here, and they have a primary white that you can use to like mix and blend with other shades, which is really interesting. So my shade, I got medium 4N, which is a medium with neutral cool undertones. People are saying it's similar to the NARS creamy concealer in that sense, and I liked using that to spot conceal all over the face and just wear alone without any foundation. So I kind of wanted to do the same thing with this one and see how that would do. I think it's very pretty, very minimal. I love the frosted packaging, and there's something about a fresh new jar of concealer like this that is just so satisfying. This is a really interesting sponge to me because it is rather flat and like wide. So getting in those crevices, like right here on the inner eyes, might be a little difficult, but I could see this working nicely like on the rest of the face. So right now I have it and it's dry, but I am going to completely wet it to see how this kind of works. I'm going to be using my concealer brush from BK Beauty. This is the A506 brush. This is a really nice one because it's rather dense and it has a bit of an angle, so it's really nice for concealing. I'm also going to be using my fingers as well as a sponge to just see the different types of coverage that we can get with different tools. And I'm going to start off by spot concealing, and then I'm probably going to put some foundation on one side and then conceal that way, and after that decide how I want to do the rest of the face or the full face. To prime the skin, I'm going to be using my Embryolisse Lot Creme Concentrate, this moisturizer right here. I remember getting this in an Ipsy bag years and years ago, and it was the tiniest little sample, and I used it and I was like, oh, this is nice, I guess. But it was before like I really knew anything about makeup prep and skincare and stuff. So at the time I was like, yeah, this is fine, but I didn't even use it up. But now that I have this, I'm like, this product is an amazing primer. So as you can see, I have a lot of freckling on either side of my cheeks. I have some acne scarring right now. I've been breaking out a lot recently. Like I have some active breakouts right here under my upper lip and some right here as well. But then I also have those acne scars on either side of my face. So we're just gonna kind of see how this does. And of course I have some darkness under the eyes as well that I typically like to conceal. What I wanna do first is take my brush on this side of the face and see if I can get a good like spot conceal out of this concealer. So let me just kind of feel the texture. So it does feel very thin, very lightweight. It almost feels a bit like a serum concealer. Once I spread it out on the back of my hand, I feel like it feels a lot less serum-y, a lot less greasy. So it has a good dry down from what I can tell. So I'm just gonna take my brush, tap it in there, get some product all over that brush. All right, so I turned the brightness up a little so you can kind of like see what's going on here. I'm just going to place the concealer first, and then we can blend it out. They do suggest that you let it sit on the face before blending. So obviously with your finger, you're gonna see you're gonna have a lot more pigmentation because it's a lot more concentrated versus where it's on the brush and it's a little bit more spread out because of the bristles. So let me just use my finger to place it, and then we will blend it out with the brush. All right, so that's all the spots that I want to spot conceal right now. The concealer has been sitting a little bit, and now what I'm gonna do is take this brush and just tap it in very lightly just to get the product in there, but make sure that it's still concentrated where I placed it. And then we'll revisit and see if I need to further blend. All right, so this is what the skin is looking like. I'm looking in my mirror right now to really see how it's like sitting on the skin. And currently under the nose, I can see it kind of like caking up a little bit. I can't really blend it out very well with my brush right now. It's kind of clinging onto any dry spots. So I have this healing acne spot right here, and you can kind of see the outline of it. There's some concealer on it, kind of emphasizing it just a little bit. So I would say if you have any healing acne scars, if it's at all dry, this may cling to it a bit. And on the actual skin, I kind of feel like it did not blend out too great. Like I can see some spots of it where it's way more pigmented and you can kind of see it like caking in that section. And then you can see a little bit of like, I don't know, it's just not as even right here on the cheek. Now I know because it's spot concealing, it may not be the exact right shade for my skin, but as you can see the actual product sitting on the skin, it hasn't really like melted in the way that I kind of assumed it would, because it did feel a little bit more of a serum foundation, or sorry, serum concealer like, but I want to try it on top of a foundation now. And what I'm going to do is actually use a skin tint because I don't know, I kind of just feel like using a skin tint, honestly. And I'm going to be using the Say Slip Tint in the shade 4.5 and 5. I'm just going to mix the two because neither of these are the perfect shade for me right now. And I'm going to apply it to my face, and we'll blend this out, and then we'll try the concealer on top of that. All right, so I have the foundation on this side of the face, and I'm gonna use my finger and just dip it into the pot, and then I'm gonna place it where I want the coverage. So a little bit there, do some under the eye and on my freckling. And it does really melt down once the finger touches the product. So you get a good amount with just like a little bit of a rub and then like tapping it. All right, so this has been sitting on the skin for a little bit. So I'm gonna take my brush again and lightly tap at it and blend it out. And I'll do that with like my chin. And I did wet this sponge and it did get a little bit larger. It's very nice and soft, super porous, and as you can see, super squishy. And I'm gonna try to use this like right here in this area. I'm not quite sure how. Maybe I can just squeeze it and then use it. So let's try that. We'll try using the sponge under the nose to see if it's any better there. So this is this side with the foundation on and then the concealer on top. I did conceal under this eye, but not this one yet. But I wanted to show you guys what it's looking like. So I did a combination. I did the brush, I blended it out on the chin here. And then for the rest of this side, I did the sponge. I just kind of like squeezed this like this to get it a little smaller, more precise. And I blended it out. And I actually think because the sponge is wet, it kind of rehydrated the foundation after it sat there for a little bit, so it was able to blend it really nicely. I like the way that it's looking on this side more than I like the way it's looking here. This side looks a little bit dry, a little more cakey. Now again, it could be because I just spot concealed on bare skin here, but overall, like I think that you guys can see it's a lot more hydrated on this side, and under the nose definitely looks a lot better when blended out with the sponge. So my chin was blended out both with a brush, but this side does have concealer and foundation, and this is just concealer. So you can kind of see a difference with them. Now what I want to do before I put any foundation on top of the concealer on this side, I want to conceal under the eye, but with the sponge. So it's, again, bare skin, and I'm going to just use my finger to dab a little bit under the eye here, and then I'm gonna squeeze the sponge and then just blend it out that way. I don't really like the tip of this. I feel like I can't really get it to where it's precise, but I do like the edges, like the corners right here. So the under eye definitely does look a lot better than the rest of this side with no foundation when it's blended out with this sponge. It does look a little bit more hydrated, but it also doesn't have as much coverage because I think that the water in this kind of like soaks it up a bit. So now what I'm going to do is put the rest of the foundation on this side on top of the concealer. I just really want to give you guys as many like combinations as possible in this video, just because I know everyone applies their makeup in different orders. So comparing the two sides of my face, where this is concealer and then foundation, and this side is foundation and then concealer, I'm seeing that this side looks a lot more hydrated. Nothing really looks too patchy, whereas this side you can kind of see where the concealer is sitting underneath because it does look a little bit more dry. You can see that the foundation isn't really meshing very well with the concealer. Let me blend it with the sponge like I normally do, and I hope that you guys can see that it is a little bit more cakey in the areas where I put that concealer. So I don't think I'm a big fan of the concealer underneath the foundation. I would do it the opposite way. It's looking cakey right around here, this section right here, and then right under the nose. But again, I have some active breakouts right in this area. It might be a little crusty, like that pimple right there. But now what I'm going to do is try to build up that concealer. It does say that it's supposed to be medium to full coverage. I would say this is about like maybe a medium or light medium coverage right now. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit more on. I think I like applying it with my fingertip, honestly. So I'm just going to go in and try to see how full coverage we can get this. I don't want to add too much on this side because it's already looking a little cakey. And I don't really think it's necessary to let it dry down for 1 to 2 minutes because it seems to have a pretty quick dry down. So I feel like it's a lot easier to blend out right after I apply it to the skin. I think that this is about as much coverage as I'm going to get out of this with the way that I want it to look. So I don't want to cake it on really. The right side of my face I feel like is already looking a little undesirable because of the way that I applied it. I definitely would recommend, if you're going to use this concealer, to use it on top of a nice like hydrating foundation or like a tinted moisturizer or something, and then top it on top of that in order to get more coverage. It did cover a good amount, but I wouldn't say that it's a full coverage concealer. I think that I can still see a little bit of darkness on the inner corners of my eyes, but I don't want to keep applying the concealer there because I am seeing it kind of go into my wrinkles right there. So I'm going to do the rest of my face makeup and then bring you guys back for the powder to see how this concealer powders down. Alright, so I have my hair pulled back so I can kind of show you guys the complexion right now. So I just put my Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Skin Enhancer in the shade Medium like I always do. The concealer pretty much looks the same, a little patchy on this side, but looking really good on this side with all of that on there. I just used my brush to kind of blend out the end part of that bronzer, and it kind of like wiped away that concealer. Yeah, you can kind of see it looks a little patchy right here now. Can you see that? It like wiped it away. So I have my Say Air Set powder in the shade Medium. I've been really loving this. It sets the face down very nicely. I think because it's kind of looking a little cakier in more areas than I would like for it to, I'm going to go ahead and use this sponge actually to set down that powder, just because I feel like it'll help like mesh the powder into the skin better than a brush would, you know? Just kind of press it in there. I'm just gonna set the whole face. So there, under the eyes, lightly tap it in there. Ooh, I don't like the way that looks. I don't know if it's the powder that's sitting on it funny It's kind of clinging. Like on camera, it looks pretty good from far away. Let's do it on the forehead because I don't have any concealer on the forehead. So we'll see if it's the powder or not. Oh yeah, the powder looks a little patchy. Is it the sponge? I don't know. I'm so confused. Switching over to a brush. Tap some in there. And this is a clean brush. And I'm just going to swirl it. And then we're going to set this side. Okay, looks way less patchy with the brush. So the sponge was not a good idea for setting with powder. So setting the concealer down with a brush, yes. Sponge, no. But actually applying the concealer, sponge, yes. Brush, no. This is with the sponge and powder. As you can see, it's kind of like cakey, a little bit patchy. The powder did not evenly like go onto the skin. So I would say don't use this sponge to set down any powder. I don't even know if that's what it's for. Honestly, I'm not sure if it's specifically for the concealer, but I just thought I would try it. But with a brush, the concealer is sitting pretty nicely. I don't think that it's looking too patchy or cakey anywhere. It's kind of like clinging right here, but the rest of the face, it's not. Under the eyes, it looks pretty good. Nothing too alarming. Let me put some blush on actually. I'm just gonna use this one from Bare Minerals. I've been really liking this bronzer. It's in the shade Kiss of Copper. I use it all the time. Let's do a little bit of spritz of setting spray. My overall thoughts. So this concealer honestly was a little more complicated than I anticipated. I was hoping that it would just smooth on and look super hydrating and give me amazing coverage. We did try a couple of different techniques on applying it. And again, I wanted to give you guys as many options as possible because I know that everyone applies their products in different orders, applies it with different tools, etc. With the sponge, I think that's the best way to go on top of a foundation or tinted moisturizer or something. I would not use this on bare skin. I don't think that it felt like it looked great. I feel like it looked a little patchy and it kind of clung onto any spots. So if you have any sort of acne or healing acne, may not be the best option because it definitely clung on to those dry spots. Now you can use a very moisturizing primer. The Embryo Lease that I have is very, very moisturizing on my skin. So I thought it was gonna, help the product lay really nicely, but it still was kind of a little dry. So I would say use it on top of a foundation. I don't recommend using this with a brush. Unfortunately, I felt like it was streaky and it was a little bit cakey, but setting down powder on top of it, I liked using a brush for that. I would not say that this is full coverage on me. If anything, it's a medium coverage, and I didn't want to keep building it up because I was a little afraid that it was going to start looking too cakey on either side. It's okay. Like I could do without it. Do you know what I mean? This is my first R.E.M Beauty product though. So if there's something from the R.E.M Beauty line that you really, really love and you're like, you need to try it, please let me know. I would really, really love to try more of their products and see if there's something that I really like. If you have oily skin, if you want something to just kind of give you a little bit of a more perfected look, this would be a good option. But if you have a lot of acne scarring, you have dry patches on the skin or anything like that, personally, I would probably skip this. It does feel very serum-like, very balmy, but once it hits the skin, I would say it kind of dries down to like almost like a powder finish pretty quickly. So I would say work quickly with it. Maybe I did something wrong, and if you guys have any suggestions for me, please let me know in the comments down below. I would love to make this work better for me and like my skin and stuff. But I mean, it doesn't look horrible. Like I'm not like I need to take this off right now. You know what I mean? That's everything for this one, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope it was informative, and if you did, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this one, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.